Each year, from March through April, scores of loggerhead turtles make their way to our Carolina beaches to nest, and approximately 3 months later, hundreds of baby turtles break through their shells and make the treacherous journey to the ocean. Many of the hatchlings make it safely to the surf, but some need a helping hand. State biologists excavate nests 72 hours after hatchlings emerge to gather data and look for any remaining turtles. The state permits the North Carolina aquariums to rehabilitate these sea turtles, and hatchlings that are too weak to make it out of their nest are brought here. We're here today with Michelle, who takes care of our loggerhead sea turtles in the exhibit here at the North Carolina Aquarium. Michelle, tell us where these animals came from.
These animals came from all over North Carolina, so they are from North Carolina beaches, but it could be anywhere up from the Outer Banks or as far south as south of Wilmington. So they're from everywhere in North Carolina.
All right, and they're brought to us as small hatchlings, and what do we do once they get here?
It depends on their condition, and they have a variety of problems that come in. Usually the first thing that we try to get them to do is to be able to swim, which is a huge part of what we do with them. These guys don't need food right when we bring them in because they still have their yolk sac. So if they can't swim, a lot of it is putting them in a wet environment to keep them nice and moist and to also keep them hydrated, and then eventually get them swimming once they get enough strength to be able to swim. So that's kind of the first step, is to get them at a right temperature, get them hydrated, and then get them to swim.
Once the turtles are healthy enough to survive on their own, the aquarium releases them back into the ocean. Some are fitted with satellite tags that enable our visitors and staff to track their movements on the internet. Caring for these juvenile loggerhead sea turtles is only one part of the behind-the-scenes conservation story here at the North Carolina Aquarium. Each winter, we're also involved in the care and rehabilitation and eventual release of the cold-sun sea turtles that are affected by the winter weather.
Every winter, it's fairly common for sea turtles to show up cold-stunned. Basically, this is a condition where the turtles become too cold, the water temperatures either drop too low or too quickly, and sea turtles, since they can't regulate their body temperature, they become just as cold as the water temperature. And this is called cold stunning, which is basically like hypothermia. Usually around 50 degrees or lower, their body systems start to shut down, and they just can't function properly. They stop moving, and they actually start to float, which then makes them very susceptible to the winds and the waves and the currents, and then they get transported onto shore and onto the beaches, where they're often discovered by people out walking the beaches. The North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission is the agency that coordinates the whole stranding effort. They coordinate all different groups, including the National Park Service, a number of volunteers, and just a huge network of agencies and organizations and people that help to recover turtles that have washed up onto the beaches. And in cases like this, when we know that there might be a large number of cold stuns showing up because of the drop in temperatures, a lot of people from the stranding network will go out onto the beaches and look for turtles, and when they find them, in most cases they are still alive. The turtles that we receive go to NC State vet school, and the veterinarians there look over the turtles. They will take blood on every single turtle and look at certain parameters, making sure that certain levels like glucose and calcium and some other parameters are within normal limits. If they're not, then they will either give them certain drugs that will help to regulate their blood levels a little bit more. Once they've been slowly warmed and to a position where they can then be transported to a facility, those turtles are brought then to the aquarium.
First thing we do is we warm them up. Usually it's with our ambient temperature, so they're usually warmed up for already a day over at the vets, getting their temperature already up a couple degrees, and then once we get them here, we warm them up until they are back up to their normal temperature, which is in the 70s. And then we get them in water. That way they can start hydrating, also get them swimming. And then we can get them in deeper water, let them swim some more. And eventually we can get them feeding again. And if they need any additional antibiotics, we can do that at the same time, or give them fluids if they need fluids.
Once the turtle blood work is normal and the turtle is acting fine and it's eating well, just looking like a regular turtle and very active, then the veterinarian decides whether or not it's okay to be released. We do know from a lot of research that's been done with other organizations, a lot of satellite tagging research, that we know that turtles like to hang out right on the edge of the Gulf Stream just off of the North Carolina coast. It's usually about 30 to 50 miles off. So again, with coordination by the Wildlife Resources Commission, an offshore release is organized, and this usually requires help from the Coast Guard or local charter boat captains, research vessels that might be going that far offshore that can carry the turtles on board and take them to an appropriate location and then release them.
So whether it's helping baby turtles get strong or warming up cold-stunned turtles, one of the main goals here at the aquarium is to be able to return these animals back out into the wild. And caring for sea turtles is only one part of the environmental efforts we take here at the aquarium.